Okay, so today we'll be making a simple placemat out of 2x4s that have been ripped into half-inch pieces. The original plan was to make a doormat, but it ended up quite small. Instead, we converted it into a placemat for our dining table. So without further ado, let's get started with our video. To make this, we're going to need the half-inch strips of wood, and to go along with it, a cutting tool that can perform crosscuts. I'm going to be using a jigsaw for this. We'll also need a drill with a 3/8 inch drill bit, some twine, and some stain or clear finish to coat. You'll also need an orbital sander and some scrap pieces of wood to make a jig if you don't have a drill press. To get started, take your half-inch strips of wood and lay them out on the table. Make sure that the ends are all lined up on one side before you clamp them down. Then draw a line on the other side, where we'll be cutting all the strips to length. Once the line is drawn, you can sand the faces of the pieces flush using 60 grit sandpaper on an orbital sander. Then you can cut the pieces on the line that we drew previously. To do this, I'll be using a jigsaw because it's fast and dirty, but a miter saw, table saw, or any other saw that can perform crosscuts can be used. While cutting the pieces, I recommend taking some blue tape and wrapping it around the line before we cut. The purpose of this is to prevent tear out, which can often happen while performing crosscuts on skinny pieces. If you have a problem with wood tearing out, I would highly recommend this. Once all the pieces are cut, lay them down and see how they compare in length. If needed, you can take an orbital sander and sand the ends together to make their length equal. Afterwards, we can drill the holes for the twine to go through. We want to drill the holes in the middle of the pieces an inch away from the ends. A drill press would be incredibly useful for this, but unfortunately I don't have access to one at the time. So instead, I made a simple jig to help me drill the holes. The jig itself is very simple. It's two pieces of wood nailed together to form a 90-degree angle. There's also another small piece of wood that has a fairly straight hole drilled into it. That piece can run along the edge of where the two original pieces meet. Once you've decided which way you're going to drill the holes, start doing so. In the end, we need to have a hole drilled for both sides on each piece. Now that all our main work's done, it's time to transform our pieces from this to this. So obviously a bunch of stuff just happened. Here's a recap. I started out by taking the raw pieces of wood and sanded them by hand with 120 grit sandpaper. After that, I stained my pieces with my favorite stain and applied multiple layers of clear coat. And now all that's left is to thread the twine through the holes that we drilled previously. You can use a paper clip to help you get the twine through the hole, but no matter what, make sure to tie knots before you thread each piece and cut off the excess twine at the end. So after you've threaded the boards of your twine, you're pretty much done. Please leave a like on the video and comment any future projects I can work on.